Hello, podcast listeners. This is your host with the most, JJ. This podcast is 3 parts, 3 different subjects I need to cover today with Tucker. What are they going to be? Well, you're going to have to listen to the whole podcast to find out. So sit back, relax, and enjoy a podcast in 3 parts. And by the way, if you'd like to help support our podcast, visit jjmeetsworld.com where you can donate to our Patreon, pick up some killer swag at our merch shop, or click the link to Apple Podcast and give us a 5-star review.
1, 2, 3, 4. J.J. Gordon, sort of like that Indiana Jones in that he's always sniffing out his next adventure. Yes, he is. He's always interviewing guests so he can have them on his show and they can talk about pop culture, arts, and leisure. J.J. has his flag unfurled and he likes his french fries curled and he's fun and then he twirled as he goes to meet the world. He will march into the rain even if his ankle sprained. Take a peek inside his brain. This podcast is called J.J. Meets World.
A podcast in 3 parts. That's what we're going to do in today's episode, and I'm pretty excited about it because I've chosen 3 topics that I want to bring up. So they're not necessarily point counterpoint. Some of them are just me saying you should take in this piece of media. But I want to start with breakfast buffets.
Breakfast buffets.
Breakfast buffets. So I am a huge fan of brunch, and brunch, when it started, was not something that was about buffets. But to me, I associate brunch with a buffet. And here's some things that I think are important when you're putting together your brunch breakfast buffet. So it should lean more towards breakfast foods than it should towards other time of the day foods. Now, I know there's quite a few people out there who will argue like, well, you can have eggs at any time of the day and you'll be fine. I'm like, okay, Karen.
But you're talking about not food that is edible at any time of day, but that food that is traditionally evening food, bringing it into the morning suddenly.
Correct. And don't get me wrong, I'm pleasantly surprised when I find a nice pasta dish at a breakfast buffet.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
But it needs to skew more towards the breakfast food items than it should to the lunch dinner items.
At the very least, would you agree that as long as the normal buffet items or brunch items have been taken care of, like you're covered with your breakfast stuff, that then it's like, okay, you can bring in other stuff now if you want.
Right.
But it's going to be on a separate table.
Well, I mean, we're even talking about a 51-49 ratio.
Nice. Okay. That's generous. That's very generous.
If most of the things on your offering table are breakfast based, that's great. If at least half, maybe just slightly more than half, you're even better. Now, there are other things like, for example, biscuits and gravy. I think in our neck of the woods, Tucker, the upper Midwest, are a traditional breakfast piece. But I know people who eat biscuits and gravy as like a dinner option.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
So to me, there are some that even straddle that line. So let me talk about the things I look for when I'm going down a breakfast buffet, okay?
Right.
Now, this is my personal opinion. I'm not hoping to elicit an argument from the listeners. Friendly discourse, that's always lovely, but this is what I think of.
This isn't a top 5 comedies of all time.
Right. We don't need more hate mail about that. So I think it's got to start with fruit. And fruit is not just a couple of grapes in a bowl. Sliced strawberries, melon is particularly important when it comes to a breakfast buffet. I'm looking for both honeydew and cantaloupe. Muskmelon, if you've got it, slice it. Maybe a little bit of watermelon. Pineapple, always a nice addition there because you get that little acidity. If you just have cut up orange slices, I can cut up orange slices at my house. Thank you very much. That's pretty easy. I want something that takes effort where you have to skin it and core it at the same time. And God forbid if you're someone who cuts up apples and puts it out there, that's not going to do it. Now, here's something I really, really like to see when it comes to the fruit. A fruit salad. Maybe it's mixed with a little bit of Greek yogurt, something like that. I mean, that is a nice addition. Allow me to have just a straight fruit if I want it. But if you've done something with some of that fruit as well, that can be real nice. Real nice. So That's what I want to start with. And then you can put out things like danishes, donuts. Maybe you want to throw a couple of croissant out there. I'm never going to take those. I don't know what you're doing. I don't know what the point of that is. And you're putting it in the wrong place. If you're going to have pastries available, they need to be on a separate table.
JJ's like, what is this, a continental breakfast at a Holiday Inn?
Right, exactly. Now, I'm going to contradict myself here because a great breakfast buffet gives me some kind of a toast option because I do love toast. And so
it goes well with eggs, right? It's a good scooper.
It's a good scooper. I make a delightful bacon and peanut butter sandwich in the morning that I really love. It's savory and sweet. So I also would like toast, but again, if you put together a pastry table that goes along with this breakfast buffet, I am one happy camper. Now, let's talk on to the next things you're going to find on this option or on this breakfast buffet. Bacon and sausage. You absolutely have bacon and sausage on this. If you're a really good breakfast buffet, you have both sausage links and some patties on there.
Yep. Correct. Agreed.
Because even though you're eating the same thing, there are people who prefer the patty. I think they like the extra crispiness.
Yeah,
of a patty.
It's just like, how do you want your eggs? Not all eggs are the same, right? The preparation really, really matters. And especially if you've got little biscuits, you can make yourself little breakfast sandwiches with the patties.
There you go. See, and that's the thing is a breakfast buffet should allow you to be as creative as you want with the food you're about to eat. When it comes to bacon, I want my bacon to be crispy. If everything in there is limp and greasy and I can tell you had to get another plate out as soon as possible so you barely cooked this bacon, I'm not impressed with you. Also, pro tip, when you're doing a breakfast buffet, always go with thick cut bacon. Always go with thick cut bacon. It's just the way that you should do it. And I will pay more for a breakfast buffet that features thick cut bacon. So we're moving right along. Next up, breakfast potatoes. Now, I have a feeling, Tucker, you're going to have some opinions when it comes to breakfast potatoes.
I mean, I don't think I'll say anything that's controversial.
No. But I think you're a guy who, when you look and they've got hash browns, and maybe they're in like a cream cheese kind of sauce, and that looks really good and creamy and creamy hash browns. And then they've got the small little cubed breakfast potatoes plus a mashed potatoes and gravy option. I think you're a happy camper. That's the Irish in you, I think.
I am. Do you know which one of those I go for?
You're going to go with mashed potatoes and gravy every time.
Nope.
Oh my God. Are you going to go for the cut up diced breakfast potatoes?
I'm going to go for the cut up diced breakfast potatoes at a breakfast buffet. I'm going to do mashed potatoes at dinner with turkey and with good company and ending the day. But I'm beginning the day with crunchy, crispy little potatoes that I can like put a bunch of them on my fork at once. You know, they're so satisfying to eat. However, I mean, like anything, they can be done well and they can be done poorly, even though they're really, really simple. But assuming that this is just a really well prepared buffet, I'm going right for that. I love hash browns, but anything that's sitting in like a cheese sauce, I have like an initial aversion to, and then I can usually get into the idea of having it. But it's because of a food poisoning issue in my past. But beyond that, it's basically like, yeah, those are good, but I think I want to be in control of the cheesiness of my potatoes if I can be. So I am a scallop potatoes kid, though. So for specifically seeing them cut scallop style kind of changes the math for me. And that's just like a psychological hit as a kid. I don't know why.
Now, would you eat scallop potatoes with a brunch? I mean, would you think that it pairs well there, or does it follow the mashed potato rule of thumb?
No. I think it pairs well with a brunch really, really well. I mean, mashed potatoes do as well. But for me, I like reserving mashed potatoes for either lunch or dinner, I'd say. For breakfast, for lunch or dinner, I'm probably not going to have that diced breakfast potato, right? I'm like, no, that's breakfast food.
So I think that the diced breakfast potato is an 80-20 to me. 80% of the time, they are mushy, they are mealy to the taste, or they're overly done and they've been sitting there too long. Only 20% of the time when I take them do I think they really nailed these breakfast potatoes.
I'm going to say something that's controversial now.
Yeah, okay, I knew it.
And I'm not trying to be. I'm not just being like, oh, let's just rock the boat here a bit. But as I searched my soul a little bit more about this question, all those dishes are all in front of me. They're delicious, right? I like them all. But if you come out and lay down a dish filled with freshly prepared curly fries, I'm going curly fries 100% of the time.
So you're saying that a pleasant surprise for you would be to open the chafing dish on a breakfast buffet and find curly fries.
Curly fries, and I would pass over any other potato dish at any time of day, at any holiday. It wouldn't matter if the mashed potatoes were made by my grandmother and then the curly fries came out next to it from Hardee's. I'm doing curly fries.
How often do you eat at an Arby's?
Not very often at all, actually. It's curly fries are a thing that I've had to, because that's right. To get curly fries in town, you got to go to Arby's or Hardee's, and you don't want to go to those places. You don't want to go there. So I don't like it. They have this sort of Walmart effect on me when I'm there. But if I could just get the curly fries, that'd be good. Now, here's the thing, though. Like, another thing about curly fries and ordering them from fast food workers is that oftentimes they really skimp on how much they put in there, because they're not, like, it's like a false sense of how many fries you're getting, because they're all of different weights and masses. But also, I hate it when they give you that, but then there's regular fries that somehow got snuck in there, and it's like, God damn, I didn't want these regular ones. I wanted the curly ones. Versus
if you get regular fries and a curly sneaks its way into that, you are ecstatic.
Well, if there were curly fries in the menu, I would have ordered them anyways.
I see how it is.
I've really led us far afield from breakfast buffets. Let me just get us back to saying, if we're talking potato, and I think the difference between a curly fry and that breakfast potato is just the cut. It's basically a seasoned potato, right? And so it's really the cut of it, and there's something about the textured cut of a curly fry, like a really nice slinky spring, that really does it for me.
I feel that the curly fry, by its nature, has to be done more than a regular fry, so it's always crispier, no matter what.
That makes sense, because there's more surface area, so it's going to take more time to cook. And
there's some science there. I don't know what the science is, but there is a curly fry scientist who could explain it one day.
Are you mad at me for bringing curly fries into this? Because I don't know if I've really rocked the boat with breakfast buffet world or not. I don't know if I've sort of annihilated my own points about what times a day certain foods get eaten.
I mean, this is what I'll say. You're never going to find flippin' curly fries on a breakfast buffet menu unless they're like, oh, shit, Danny was supposed to cut up the potatoes last night. He didn't. All right, we've got a bunch of curly fries left over from a quinceañera last week. Let's put those on, because if we don't have a potato option, these money mouths out here who are expecting a breakfast buffet are going to lose their shit.
I'm actually tempted to think of, how could you quickly throw together a breakfast buffet using only fast food drive-through items? So if you had to throw it together like within an hour, where would you go and what would you buy?
Yeah, that's a good question, because most fast food breakfast items don't last more than 5 minutes.
I know, but it's like, let's say you've got enough like hot plates or whatever back, like where you're going to bring the food. You just need to basically get it from the fast food place to the place that people are going to eat and get it out of the packaging. So then it's the buffet's like chicken strips, then curly fries and tacos.
If I was writing the movie, it would be the straight-laced accountant type character who's got a crazy friend from college, and he throws him an amazing bachelor party, but all of a sudden they find out, we slept 2 days. Oh no. And then it's the morning that he's supposed to throw a brunch for his new uptight in-laws who are coming to town. And then and he's like, I've got to get a brunch together in 20 minutes. And his friend goes, don't worry, man, I got it covered.
I mean, this has effectively, I think, been done a number of times in television and movies, but now we need to do it on the podcast.
Yeah. Also, again, I'm going to throw this out there. It is very rare to find a place that serves curly fries that also has them available during breakfast hours.
Right. We spent a lot of time on potatoes, JJ, and I have a feeling there's more to this buffet that you'd like to cover.
Is. So once you move past that, Maybe biscuits and gravy are out there. Perhaps there's going to be some waffles or French toast, but that does it for the breakfast side of things. And then it becomes the wild, wild west of the breakfast buffet. What are the other things you're going to offer that make it brunch, that bring in the lunch part of brunch?
JJ, can I ask you a question about gravy?
Oh, please do.
The breakfast gravy, so like chicken gravy, it's like a white breakfast gravy that's always with biscuits and gravy.
Yeah.
I like the taste of it. I've had it plenty of times. I don't like the look of it. And I think it's like this one food that, to me, the flavor of it does not match how it looks.
Oh, interesting.
It looks like it should taste in some other way. And I can't explain that beyond my own, little psychosis about breakfast gravy. So I'll eat it, but I'm never like drawn to it when I see it. But then if I go, all right, and oh yeah, that's right, this stuff's delicious. And then I go, right?
Breakfast gravy is traditionally sausage gravy. So It's gravy that has, breakfast sausage, whether it's hot or mild. And then it's flour, milk, salt, and pepper. And that's really what makes up like breakfast gravy or sausage gravy, as you're saying. Now, I've known a couple places that do like, we use like a beef gravy to go along with this. And to me, when you pour beef gravy over biscuits and you're eating them at breakfast, that's what doesn't look right to me.
Okay.
It looks gross. Now, here's a hot tip, though, Tucker. Are there any vegetables that you really like bell peppers or mushrooms or onions or anything like that?
Love me some onions.
You love onions?
I like broccoli in certain types of preparations. I really like baked broccoli. Love spinach and leafy greens. Let me see. I don't have a wide palate when it comes to vegetables. I'm still kind of a child when it comes to that. But there are a number of, like what I just said.
Okay.
Most green veggies that I've come across, I've liked.
Most
of them, with the exception of like green beans.
Okay, sure. Okay. So to me, sausage gravy is a versatile gravy where you can really add a lot of stuff to it, and it still is just amazing. So imagine serving yourself up biscuits and gravy, but the gravy also has some cooked spinach in it, or and some onion, or maybe even some red onion, and it doesn't overtake the flavor because the sausage is the main part of the flavor, but it gives it an even classier breakfast buffet look. I think you might enjoy that at some point.
Okay, I'll have to dive into that a bit. Thank you for the tip.
Yeah, I'm full of tips. So when it comes to the brunch items that you can add, I think you always should add a pasta dish of some kind. Doesn't matter what type of noodle. It could be as simple as mac and cheese. It could be as complex as, like a chicken with maybe like lemon and capers or something like that.
Capers turn me off so quick.
Oh, you don't like that?
I just the look of capers and I've tasted them. I don't like. I'm just like, nope. Yeah, if there's a caper in it, I'm like, I'm passing on this dish.
So to me, that's what I love when I go to places. I like to get that pasta that doesn't have a heavy sauce in it. It's just got like a light drizzling, and then these other little pieces like artichoke hearts and capers together with angel hair pasta. This guy is in a small slice of heaven. So then, but to me, I also love more kind of comfort food options for the lunch things. If I find fried chicken on there, oh, baby, that is where it is at for the J-Man. I go gaga if you've got a fried chicken option on there. And other great things that I've seen on there, meatloaf, another thing that's great because really you're not incorporating a lot of beef into breakfast foods. Have you ever noticed that beef really doesn't have a spot at the breakfast table?
Why is that? Is that just because it's so prevalent in other meals?
Well, I think because bacon or pork is the go-to for bacon and for sausage, which are your dominant breakfast meats. And then if you're like, oh, I also like ham, well, guess what? That also comes from the oinker.
That's true. I guess if anything, steak tips.
Right, steak and eggs is there, but you're never going to find steak, right?
That you're right, because that's just typically a dinner. That's like a last meal of the day.
Goes well with your mashed potatoes and gravy that you like so much.
And some wine.
So you get me to the end, and here's what to me is the make or break of a great breakfast buffet: the carving station.
Oh yeah.
Now, I'm going to tell you this right now. The thing that I think drives me the craziest when it comes to a breakfast buffet is when they advertise prime rib. Like, ooh, have a slice of prime rib. Be like, no, this is a roast beef. The way that you've prepared this is roast beef. It's ultra fatty. You're going to give me 2 thin slices. I do not care for this. Call it what it is. And if the meat is gray, God damn it, you throw that one away and you start over again. It is a red meat, not a gray meat. And now, some places also fancy it up by saying, oh, we got a little cup of au jus, and we've got creamy horseradish. We've got raw horseradish. Nice touches there. Really appreciate those. But if you want to really make JJ impressed, not only does he have a piece of fried chicken on his plate, but you have a beef option at your carving station and ham. So I get a nice, thick slice of ham.
You know what I just realized, dude?
What?
Is anyone who's going to be growing up in your house, like your Thanksgivings are going to be lit.
Oh God, they're great.
Oh my God. I'm just thinking about all this. And I'm just picturing you carving like meat and caring about it. Right.
Yep.
And putting time and effort into it. And what you're saying about, even just mislabeling the meat is sort of, or misrepresenting the meat and its quality rings so true to me as a cheesesteak fan. Because I've been burned so many times with they're like, hey, try our cheesesteak. And you get it and you go, this is a roast beef sandwich. Yep. This is not a cheesesteak. Or this is like a ground chuck sandwich. This is not a cheesesteak. I feel you 100%. And I'm always, when I see that carving station, I understand you looking at the meat. I look at the carver right away. That's the thing I want to see too, is who is attending the station and how are they carving things out for the people ahead of them, right? Like, are they giving them bad cuts of it? Like, are they being lazy with it? Or are they pre-cutting a bunch of slices and then just waiting for people to come and handing it to them? You know, it's like, no. You cut it for me right there. I watch you cut it.
I also think that if they ask you how you like the doneness, you've got a really good carver, because they know that if you want something more well done, they're going to give it to you from like the rear end where the meat has, is sort of kind of comes to the point. So there's less area there for the heat to penetrate. So that gets done faster than something in the middle. Or if I go up and I'm like, can I get a thick cut of bloody? They're going to give me a thick cut. And it's going to be so juicy, and it's going to have all of there's a word for, like, it's not blood. It's like globin, like myoglobin or something like that. Yeah. And it's going to be just like juicing out of that piece. And so I agree. A good slicer also knows their thing too. And they also are slicing at an angle. I don't know why. Like, if you cut it straight down, I don't like that. When you carve it at an angle, I feel like that is so much classier. Classier. It's
classier, but I bet there's some argument to be made as well for the physics of it, and how you're not just applying pressure straight down on the meat, and perhaps doing something to the cut of it.
Well, because if you're supposed to cut with the like grain of the meat. So how the muscle texture goes, because like a muscle isn't straight up and down, it's like when you take it out of like a person's like bicep. Well, hopefully you're not eating human meat. But when you take it from the animal, there is a specific way you should be cutting the meat that actually presents it better. So, for example, a tri-tip, a very popular cut of meat right now, you actually cut in 2 different directions depending on what part of the tri-tip you're cutting from. So there's a hot tip for you. So you get done with the carving station, and then there should be one more thing that you have there, and that's the omelet bar. I didn't touch on eggs earlier because usually your options are scrambled eggs or scrambled eggs with stuff in them. So then the pan is separated into 2 sides. One are the scrambled eggs, which, by the way, let me tell you something. If you go to a place where they're hand cracking eggs, start going to that buffet every weekend, because most of the time restaurants order what's called a bag o' eggs. And it is a giant like Ziploc bag full of pre-cracked eggs that are already mixed, that essentially you just put into a big roasting dish, pop in the oven, pull it out, and there you go. So, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just sort of the mass produced. It doesn't taste quite as fresh because those eggs are probably cracked 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And they're just now making their way to your plate. But you get one of those. I've never been like, oh my God, these scrambled eggs are changing my life. I want to join the Peace Corps. What you end up getting most of the time is like, I kind of wish I hadn't taken these scrambled eggs. That's where the omelet bar, the made to order omelet bar comes in. Now, a great breakfast buffet does this. You've got a server most of the time. And if the server takes your order and brings it to the omelet chef and then brings you the omelet back, that's great, because the most awkward part of a breakfast buffet, besides running into your ex-girlfriend's parents and having to wait in line with them 10 person long at a breakfast buffet, is having to wait and make awkward conversation or just stay silent while you hold a plate in your hands waiting for your once around the kitchen omelet to be done and plated for you. It's a tough moment. It is a tough moment for a lot of people. I don't like it. It's usually an inconvenient place. So if they take your order and bring you that fresh made omelet, oh man, that's great. But you should time it right. If that's the case, place your omelet order before you go to the breakfast buffet so that you're not just finishing your plate and then all of a sudden they drop an omelet in front of you and you're like, ugh, I actually ate enough already. Your omelet should be there by the time you're on your second strip of bacon, maybe your first sausage link, so that you can mix the egg part bites in with everything else that you're eating. Also, breakfast buffets love to do the all-you-can-drink mimosas. Why? I don't get it. I don't get the point. Why are you getting schmammered when there's all that food to be eaten? Please come to a food coma.
See, to me, that's the mimosa. Excuse me. The mimosa is the thing that makes me go, all right, this is my place. I want to be here, because I'll only drink mimosas at a breakfast buffet, period. There's no other scenario where I drink mimosas.
But I'm pretty sure mimosa is Greek for brunch.
Yeah, pretty much. And I mean, no matter what, even if I'm not hungry, I'm at least going to hit the mimosa.
Interesting.
I mean, imagine you're at a wedding that you don't want to be at, and like you had to like pay for the trip and you had to spend the night at some place, and then you're all getting this buffet the next day. Aren't you going to hit the mimosas right away?
No.
I am. Before the coffee.
Never for me. Never.
With the coffee.
That's where we're two really intelligent, handsome men, and I disagree. It just not the way. It's not the way I'm gonna roll.
You just gotta spend more time in casinos, JJ.
Okay, so
that's what you gotta do.
This is what the other piece I want to ask about, which is when you're in Las Vegas, you've been there enough that you've probably been to quite a few breakfast buffets.
Yeah.
I know my personal favorite in Las Vegas. Do you have a favorite?
I don't have a favorite in Las Vegas, but if I can remember correctly, the best buffet that I had was with you at the Venetian. I believe
that's a good choice.
But that was a long time ago, and so I couldn't just give it my stamp. When I think of like food that I want to get when I'm in Vegas, it's probably shrimp cocktails on Fremont. But other than that, or it's the steak at Steakhouse in Planet Hollywood on the Strip.
Okay.
But I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that for breakfast though. So I would really, even now, if I went to Vegas, I would be like, hey, JJ, you tell me, let's go hit whichever one you want to hit. I don't have a preference.
My personal opinion is the MGM has the best breakfast buffet. I find it to be incredibly well-rounded. I find it to be an easy in and out. There's tons of seating, so you're very comfortable. And it is buried far enough in the back where it seems like a little tiny like place to kind of go, whew, okay. So you're not completely surrounded by the bells and whistles of slot machines and the of someone winning, at a blackjack table at 8:00 in the morning. So,
I actually I've found that actually in casinos, I prefer to not do a breakfast buffet, but to do just a breakfast in a diner setting where you're interacting with a waiter and you're sitting with your friends and you're basically just ordering coffee and whatever you want for your plate. Because no matter what, I'm at a point now where I'm probably not eating more than a plate and a half of food max. And so I was kind of thinking about this actually, JJ, and I'm not worldly enough in buffets to actually know if this even makes any sense. Excuse me. But it's kind of like, I guess, Brazilian steakhouses where, a lot of it is just being brought to you constantly versus you getting up and going. And are there any buffet restaurants where effectively is it being a buffet because you are serving yourself versus, oh, you can have as much of this food item as you want and we'll bring it to you. You just tell us when you want more. Is the buffet specifically you're serving yourself? Because I could see some benefit from like, well, let's not just put food out for the mass public to just be hovering over all the time. Let's just go, well, if we're going to be saying, okay, you can have as much of this food out as you want if you buy this thing, just tell us if you want more and we'll bring it to you.
I believe that the word buffet and the word all you can eat and the phrase all you can eat go hand in hand, because you could, like, if I'm going and I'm paying, let's say by the plate, so I go up and I load up my plate and that's what I pay for and I can't go back for seconds, thirds, fourths, fifths, then I kind of feel like I'm at a cafeteria.
Okay.
And to me, that's the difference between the two. So
to me, a cafeteria is, are you eating it on a tray or are you eating it on a plate?
That's a good question. But like, if you think of the cafeteria scene in Animal House, that's serve yourself. Yeah. Like he's walking and he's grabbing his own plates of whatever he wants and, whatever apples and things like that and putting it onto his plate. So to me, that's more of a cafeteria type setting. But that I don't want to argue the definition of a buffet.
I just wasn't
Jimmy
sure.
Buffett.
Does it not make sense for a business to do what I said, or does it just make more sense to go just put the food out there and we'll just keep refilling it?
I've always wondered that. Like I used to think that buffets at casinos were loss leaders, right? It was something to keep you in the casino and you eat at your own pace. And
for sure,
because I've been to some that are expensive. The most expensive buffet I ever went to was $100 a plate. And it was in Disney World, and it was the greatest buffet I've ever been to because the food was all like 4-star quality food. So it wasn't just mass produced mac and cheese. It was mac and cheese that was made like with Gouda with a lot of love. And like, you can clearly tell like their chicken nuggets were hand dipped, hand breaded chicken nuggets that haven't been sitting there all afternoon. It was an amazing buffet. It's in Main Street, USA in Disney World. And I highly recommend if you ever get down there to try it, because you might go $100. I understand that, but you could also be eating a piece of ham when Piglet comes up to you. And I think that is awesome as well.
Yeah. I also just realized too, that being able to serve yourself gives you some sort of a coverage to hide your own shame. Because if you're like, I think this next plate, I want just potatoes. You don't want to say that to a server out loud. Right. You're like, I'm just going to take care of this myself. People will see that I have a plate with just potatoes on it, but I am not going to say it, and my shame will be with me.
Right. If you came to Gordon's buffet, our motto would be no judgment.
No judgment, but also you don't know portions of what people are going to give you. So if you're like, yeah, I'd like more chicken strips, please, and more mashed potatoes. Let's say you kind of want half and half, but they do 30-70. Then you're like, well, that's not what I wanted.
Right.
That's too many of one thing and too little of the other.
Clear. And here's the thing. We're also thinking like, like they're out there to try and give us the cheapest stuff possible. If there's a person who's serving at this buffet, they don't give a crap. It's not their restaurant.
Yeah.
The worst case scenario is old lady Jenkins will give them a talking to afterwards being like, did you put 4 chicken strips on that plate? I told you, we're a 3 chicken strips joint. What are you trying to do? Put me in the poorhouse? Okay, so it's time to move on to subject number 2 of this podcast, which is a movie that I feel is incredibly undervalued, and it's called Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox Story. Are you familiar with this film, movie. Tucker?
I think I watched it with you. I think I saw it in the theater with you.
I believe you did. Okay, so Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox Story it's similar to like the Airplane movies. Or Naked Guns, where it's a parody of other movies. And this is a parody of the music biopic. Think Ray, Walk the Line, that Beach Boys movie that came out. And what I love the most about Walk Hard is, first of all, John C. Reilly gives the performance of a lifetime in it. The songs that they've written for this character are amazing. And the simple premise of it is he and his brother, when they're little boys living on a farm, his brother is the golden child and can't do anything wrong. And one day during an ill-timed machete fight that they're having in the barn, Dewey accidentally swings at his brother, and his brother gets cut in half. In fact, as he says, he goes, "I've been halved." And they rush in the doctor, but the doctor says, this is a pretty bad case of being cut in half, and the little boy's probably not going to make it. And the father immediately says, your brother was twice the boy you've ever been, and he's only half, so you're technically only a quarter of the half that he is right now. And he says the wrong kid died, which at that time, young Dewey Cox can no longer smell. He's gone smell blind.
Yeah. Who plays his dad? Is it Keckner?
No. In fact, it's a really well-known, dramatic actor who took a real risk on this one, and I think you'd recognize him from other stuff. Let me tell you exactly. I'm gonna hold on. Let me.
No matter what, if you haven't watched Walk Hard: The Dewey Cox Story, you 100% need to watch Walk the Line first.
Oh, and I think you need to watch Ray first as well, because really it's those two.
But didn't Ray come out after it?
No, Ray was way before it.
Really? Oh. Yeah, my timeline's off. Okay.
This came out in 2007, and Ray came out 2004 or something like that.
No. What?
Yeah.
My timeline is way off. Okay, I'm IMDb time. We're us and the people who are listening are all hitting IMDb right now.
Oh yeah, what? Ray came out in 2004. I nailed it.
Yep, you're right. 2004.
Yeah, because we've been saying that Jamie Foxx is way more talented than he actually is for a long time. So here's what's amazing about Walk Hard: The Dewey Cox Story. It is probably in modern times the greatest collection of comedians that we have seen in a movie ever. So you think of in previous generations, the movie It's a Mad, 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 Mad World, right?
Right.
With the Three Stooges having a cameo and everybody and their brother in that movie. That's what's in Walk Hard. I mean, the cast is just flipping amazing when you hear all these people. So at the height of her fame, Jenna Fisher from The Office, who played Pam, you had Tim Meadows, John C. Reilly, Nate Faxon, David Drumholtz. Oh God, who else is in the? Kristen Wiig is in this thing. It's her first big movie, and she's hilarious in it.
Wait, Harold Ramis is in this?
Yeah, he plays a Jewish movie producer or a song. Record producer.
L'chaim, that's fantastic. I had no idea he was in this. I have to rewatch this.
Yeah,
I know I do. I have this in my archive. I may have to watch this today.
Even Jack White. Jack White plays Elvis.
Frankie Muniz plays Buddy Holly. That's right.
It's just the movie is just packed with all of these comedians who, even at this time, some of them were less known, but have now gone on to be just huge stars.
I guess they must be parodying the Doors biopic too, with the poster for Walk Hard that I'm seeing here on the IMDb page. So. My favorite memory from watching Walk Hard with you, and I forget who else was with us. A few of us were there, but I remember all of us absolutely losing our shit when he walks in and sees Tim Meadows smoking weed backstage.
Yeah,
and that back and forth of it's not habit forming.
Yeah, he's like, get out of here, dude! You don't want any of this shit. And he goes, well, I get addicted to it. And he goes, it's not a habit forming. It'll probably give me a bad hangover. It doesn't give you a hangover. And he goes, I think I want to try that shit. And then it's a running gag because then he walks in on him and he runs into him and he's doing cocaine. Get out of here, dude. You don't want any of this shit. And he's like, well, what's going to happen? Is it going to make me depressed? No, it takes your bad feelings and makes them good. It's a great running gag. So this movie, so young Dewey learns to play the guitar, and he's a natural at it because he's got so much trauma in his life. And what's amazing is this movie is as absurdist as it comes. And so the first time you see John C. Reilly as Dewey Cox, he is playing a 14-year-old boy, but they've done nothing to make him look like a 14-year-old. And so it's him standing with actual other 14-year-olds, and they're at a talent competition, and a little girl is out there, and she does a tap number, and he goes, "Oh, how are we going to follow that?" I just truly believe that this movie did not get the justice it deserved, because not only is it incredibly funny, it's this, love letter to the music industry. Because it plays up the Beatles are represented in it, like Jack Black, Paul Rudd, Jason Schwartzman, and who's the other one? Somebody else, and they play the Beatles. And so at one point he goes, to India with the Beatles to learn about himself, and goes tripping with them. And it's this love letter to the music industry, but the songs that are written for this movie are amazing. Like whoever did the actual like music and the writing of the music in it did such a good job that I actually own the soundtrack, and I listen to it on the regular, because he covers all these different genres. So Walk Hard is his version of Walk the Line, and it goes on, and he's got one where it's about the little people, and it's like let me hold you, midget man, let me lift you to the sky, we can pretend like you're flying, you're an astronaut in the sky.
So as I'm going over the rest of this cast list for Walk Hard, I'm actually kind of surprised, and maybe they hadn't worked together yet, but that I'm not seeing Will Ferrell anywhere in here, even in like the small cameos list, which has a shit ton of people.
Yeah, I don't think he had any part of this one, which is weird.
Yeah,
isn't that?
I mean, hadn't they already worked together at this point?
Yeah, definitely. They for sure had done Talladega Nights at that point.
Okay, that's what I thought.
So, and also the guy who directed it, Jake Kasdan, is another guy who understands the comedy that I absolutely love. And it's a real shame that he hasn't like had a bigger a bigger showing, because like he directed a bunch of episodes of Freaks and Geeks, which was an amazing television show. He directed the movie Orange County, the TV set, Bad Teacher, Sex Tape. I mean, this guy has been around for a long time. He even got to do the reboot of Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle, which was way better than it deserved to be. And to me, I just wish that this movie had gotten more attention when it came out, because it is really good. It's really, really funny, and it definitely deserves it. Also, side note, there's a good amount of full frontal male nudity in this movie. So just be prepared for that, but not in the way you'd think. And like, to me, Chris, I thought Amy Adams was in this movie for a long time, because Kristen Wiig looks so much like Amy Adams in the movie. And, like her thing is she plays Dewey's first wife, who's like, "You're never going to make it, Dewey." And he goes, "I think I'm doing pretty good for a 15-year-old with a wife and a baby." And she's like, "Give it up, Dewey. It's never going to happen." He's like, "This is my dream." "What about my dream?" "I can't build you a house made out of candy. If it rains, it'll melt." Or he goes, "It'll melt." He goes, "Not if it never rains." It's a great movie. And it's the type of movie where you could watch it alone, but I highly recommend you watch it with a couple other people.
Well, yeah, I mean, you want the multiple laughters to be mixing together to feed off each other.
And there's a lot to catch in this movie too. So if you watch it with somebody else, yeah, they can definitely catch some of that good stuff, and you'll enjoy it.
What brought this up in your mind recently?
I was listening to the soundtrack, and I was humming it when I was in work, and someone was like, "Oh, what's that?" And I said, "Oh, it's from Walk Hard." And they're like, "What's that?" And I explained to them what it was, and I thought to myself, this is a person who sees a lot of movies. How have they never seen Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox Story? And I realized it doesn't really get a ton of play on like cable channels and stuff like that. Right. It's an R-rated movie for sure, but it is, it's good. There's a part after he gets divorced in the movie where he writes a song called "Guilty as Charged," and it starts off with this kind of like Spanish guitar, and he goes, "Good morning, Your Honor. Can I approach the bench?" And the song is, like, it's like, my love is too large, but I'm guilty as charged. And during it, there's a part where he's in this like seedy motel, and there's like a red like neon light blinking outside the window, and he's fornicating with this woman, and he's wearing sunglasses, and he goes, "God damn it, this is a dark period." And it's that kind of absurdist humor that I just can't get enough of. It is so dang good. And again, hopefully I didn't give too much away, because let me tell you, this movie's a laugh a minute. You should seek it out. Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox Story.
Go hit up a breakfast buffet, and then find Walk Hard, Dewey Cox Story streaming online if it's streaming.
Okay, part 3 of this 3-part podcast is going to be the controversial part. And this is going to be the part where Tucker and I, we've got a disagreement that's going to be crazy.
Uh-oh. Okay.
Tucker recently put a mathematical equation onto his Facebook, equating the sodas that were better than other sodas.
Yeah.
And he starts with Pepsi.
Yep.
Now, you're a Pepsi drinker. I am a Diet Coke drinker. Now, I will tell you this much. I don't care for Coca-Cola. I think Coca-Cola is too sweet. I don't like it. But Diet Coke, I drink more than I drink water. How much Pepsi do you think you drink?
Ooh, not more than water, because I drink so much coffee every day. That's sort of the thing that I'm chugging the most all the time. How much Pepsi do I drink? Oof. It comes in waves. Not nearly as much Pepsi as you drink Diet Coke. I know that much.
Okay,
but I'd say
I'm glad you said that, because that's my point. I know how good Diet Coke is because it's a part of my bloodstream.
Oh, you're saying I haven't saturated myself enough with Pepsi over the years to actually fully understand how delicious it is, versus you, who had a habit of opening Diet Cokes at night so they'd be warm and flat for him in the morning when he woke up?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
That is 100% correct. It's like saying cults are bad. Well, how do you know? Have you ever been in a cult?
I got to tell you, I think that my list shouldn't be as controversial as you're making it out to be, because if you noticed on the list, at dead last, I put Diet Pepsi.
Yeah, but Dr. Pepper is in there.
Yeah, Dr. Pepper is second. It's Pepsi is the best, then it's Dr. Pepper, and then it's Diet Coke.
See, I feel like I probably could have maybe given you a slide if you had put Pepsi and then Diet Coke, but the fact that Dr. Pepper comes before that, because I also think about this think of the counterparts. Okay, so Diet Coke's counterpart, which is Diet Pepsi, is not horrible. I will gladly drink Diet Pepsi if that's what a place has. Like if I go to the movie theater and I get a large Diet Pepsi, I am just as content as I would be if I was drinking, not Diet Coke, but if I was drinking like a Sprite or something like that. It's never going to be my first choice, but it's my second choice. Does that make sense?
That makes total sense.
But that being said, Dr. Pepper's secondary sister drink is Mr. Pibb, which is like tapping an old piece of cedar and drinking the blood that comes from it.
Mr. Pibb is not on my list, so I don't see how this is controversial. Mr. Pibb's nowhere to be found on my list.
That's what I'm saying is like you have to consider like the counterparts to these things.
Well, here's the thing, JJ.
Because would Dr. Pepper exist if it wasn't for Mr. Pibb?
So here's the thing, JJ, though, with the list that I have, and let me just reiterate my list in 5 sodas and ranking from favorite to least favorite. For me, it's Pepsi, Dr. Pepper, Diet Coke, Coca-Cola, Diet Pepsi. However, that's just including those particular sodas. That's not my top 5 sodas, period. There's so many sodas for me that go on the list between Dr. Pepper and Diet Coke. But I just wanted people to know where I stood with the big 2 colas and Dr. Pepper as far as ranking them. But like Diet Coke is way down the list for me. I mean, root beer goes in there before Diet Coke. All kinds of root beer go in there. I drink Surge before Diet Coke. Diet Coke is the thing that I drink when I'm on airplanes, pretty much.
That is a damn shame, because it's a worthwhile soda. I know that it's got so many cancer-causing agents in it, but I just can't get enough of it.
If a soda says diet, I really don't want it. I really don't. I don't want that aspartame taste. There's nothing about it being diet that makes me feel healthier than if I'm drinking the regular. It's just now it tastes more like regular sugar if it's regular stuff.
To me, like the thing that will really turn me away from a pop is if it's got the word zero on it, like Coke Zero, Sprite Zero.
For sure.
I'm like,
Yep.
no, I know what you're trying to do here, and I don't care for it. Also,
It's like I'm choosing to drink soda. Like, so give me soda. If I wanted zero, I drink water.
let me tell you a little bit about your precious Dr. Pepper that you should know about, okay? So, Dr.
Understand
Pepper,
something, too, that Dr. Pepper is Mike Schultz's favorite. So anything you're saying about Dr. Pepper to me, you're saying to him, too.
well, it might as well be called Dr. Stalker, okay, for starters. So, a pharmacist in Waco, Texas, so we already know, like, look what happened there.
Deep cut.
Yeah, created the soda Dr. Pepper, and he named it after the father of a girl he was once in love with.
Okay.
So he wasn't even Dr. Pepper. He was in love with a girl probably named like Susie Pepper, and to impress her, he named a soda after her father to win, like, good graces. That is the kind of crazy. It's like, oh, I wrote a play to tell you I love you.
Yeah. JJ,
So-
where did Coke get its name from?
Cocaine.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess we all have shameful pasts, don't we?
No, I don't think so at all, because at that time they were treating toothaches with cocaine. A stalker is still a stalker no matter what year it is.
I see. Okay.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing he wasn't like pining after a girl named like Susie Assbleed, because then you'd be like you'd be drinking Dr. Assbleed. And it's a unique blend of 23 flavors. Do you know what that means to me? I don't know what the fuck I'm doing.
Someone, our mutual friend Bill Stiller recently told me that he calls Dr. Pepper barbecue Pepsi. And I think that's so apt that's probably why I like Dr. Pepper so much, is that it's actually not super far off from Pepsi. When my dentist has a sheet on the display on the wall that shows acidity content of different sodas and drinks you can get.
Yep.
And so obviously all the sodas are on there and they're pretty acidic. And the further down the list you get, the more acidic it is. And at the bottom of the list of sodas is Pepsi. And it's like one step above battery acid, basically. So it's not good for me that my favorite soda of all time is Pepsi, because I have acid reflux disease. So drinking Pepsi is not like a great thing for my body at all, but I'm also, drinking soda in any shape or form is not good for my body at all. And I do have to regulate how much Pepsi I drink in a day, because I can tell if I've gone past 2 cans in a day, I'm going to be sick. And specifically with Pepsi, not other sodas. I could probably go deeper into soda territory. But JJ, if we're talking sodas then, if it is a hot day and you're like, I want me a soda, and you're going to go get yourself a Diet Coke, are you getting a can? Are you getting a fountain soda?
Oh, dude, I can answer this question easily. This is the hierarchy. Fountain, and then the subgenre is McDonald's Diet Coke, and then literally every other fountain Diet Coke. Then it goes can, and then it goes bottle.
How does McDonald's change their Diet Coke?
Oh, you don't know this? I have never explained this on the podcast.
I think you have, but I'm blanking on the details. I can't even remember what McDonald's is doing.
McDonald's hired scientists to solve the soda situation, and this is what they found out. You and I, when we worked at the Fargo Theater, know that there are boxes that contain bladders of the syrup that mixes with the CO2 water and makes fizzy pop, right?
Okay. Yep.
We kept those just in the basement of the Fargo Theater, and that ran through these long lines. What they do is they put the mixture, the syrup, in metal canisters, and they store the metal canisters in a cold environment. So when the syrup mixes, it's not a warm mixing with a cool, it's a cold and a cold mixing together. So nothing changes in the chemical compound. Most places don't do that because it's costly to have a refrigeration area where where you need to do this. And secondly, metal cylinders it's way cheaper to have a plastic bladder that you just throw out when you're done with it and they ship you another one rather than having to refill these metal canisters. There is so much science that goes into the mixing of a pop at a McDonald's versus any other place that has a fountain soda that I will sometimes go to McDonald's and order 2 Diet Cokes and put one in the fridge and then sip on those 2 all day long.
It's funny that you're saying this because I actually think that the worst Dr. Peppers I get are at McDonald's.
Really?
Yeah. Dr. Pepper, who owns Dr. Pepper? Dr. Pepper's
Coca-Cola.
They do, but I've seen Dr. Pepper with Pepsi.
I think, right? No,
I think
Pepsi owns Dr. Pepper, right?
But no, Dr. Pepper is with Coke as well at McDonald's. So I think Dr. Pepper, I don't know. Well, now let's turn to the internet here again because that's one thing.
No. Pepsi owns Dr. Pepper. Coca-Cola owns Mr. Pibb.
But McDonald's has Dr. Pepper.
Sure.
And Coca-Cola.
Yeah. They don't have, I mean, you don't have, I think we all work under the assumption that like, oh my God, you've got to have all or nothing.
So, okay, hold on though. Looking at the Wikipedia article, as far as the manufacturer, Keurig Dr. Pepper does it in the United States. Coca-Cola manufactures it in Europe and South Korea, and Pepsi manufactures it in Canada and Oceania. But the distributor is Keurig Dr. Pepper. So it is its own company. That's what I thought. And yeah, okay, so Dr. Pepper is its own company. I figured it was because there's no way that Coke is going to have a Pepsi product and vice versa in their thing. Like that's clearly they're not going to do that. But they're all bottling it in different areas. So that's really, really interesting. I had no idea.
This is what McDonald's has to say about Dr. Pepper. McDonald's serves Dr. Pepper, the classic and refreshing fountain drink with a unique blend of 23 flavors. Dr. Pepper pairs perfectly with any of your favorite menu items. There are 140 calories in a Dr. Pepper at McDonald's, available in extra small, medium, and large for $1 on our $1, $2, $3 dollar menu. Get it today in the app with mobile order and pay. Nutritional information.
Okay, so I have a Dr. Pepper memory with Mike Schultz, specifically when we were shooting this movie called Lumberjill in Cloquet, Minnesota one winter. And Mike was like the assistant director and helping produce it and stuff. So he was with me on the shoot the whole time. Shoot in the middle of winter. Mike is a Dr. Pepper fiend. That Dr. Pepper is at the top of his list over anything else. And while I disagree with that, I respect it. But so we're shooting in the wintertime. And he's keeping a couple of Dr. Peppers with him in the car as we're going. And whenever we get someplace to shoot outside, he would have his Dr. Pepper with him and he'd go and he'd just put it in the snowbank to keep it cold while we were shooting. Well, because I was so distracted with everything we were doing, I never saw him taking like cans of Dr. Pepper out of the car or even carrying them with him. I only ever saw Mike from time to time throughout the day walk over to a snowbank and retrieve a Dr. Pepper seemingly from nowhere. And it created this idea in my head that Mike stores Dr. Peppers like all over the place in snowbanks, just in case he's going to be there and he knows where he has all the locations hid. And I want to turn that into a story in some way where someone just basically has caches of their favorite soda hidden just in the world around them.
That's genius. Let me tell a story that your story reminded me of, because I think Mike Schultz is a genius when I hear that. On a Faithful Linebenders road trip, we were driving to Yankton, South Dakota, and we decided to stop for lunch in Sioux Falls. And I had, at the beginning of this road trip, purchased a king-size Hershey's bar that I had left on the dash. And even though it was the middle of winter, the defog and the heat from that completely melted the bar, where it was like, it felt like it was all liquid inside.
Whoa.
So I remember previous podcast guest Britta Nelson being like, "You idiot, you just ruined it." And I was like, "Oh yeah, watch this." And I grabbed it and I shoved it in a snowbank when we went in to eat at a Subway. And when I came out, I pulled it out and it had rehardened and I ate it and it was perfect.
Nice. That's some science right there.
That's called fat kid science right there. I wasn't going to let that baby go to waste.
I'm a big fan of putting chocolate bars in the freezer as is, just so that they're even cold and a bit frozen anyways.
Yeah, and I know a lot lot of people like to do that, like with Snickers bars and with Reese's peanut butter bars and stuff like that. So I think that there's something about getting a cold candy bar that is awesome. But that's not what we're talking about. That's not one of the 3 subjects. And I'm not going to let you derail the last one like I let you derail the breakfast sandwich with, like, let's talk more about potatoes. But that
I'm sorry, am I exploring themes within your topics, JJ? I'm sorry.
Those are the 3 things I want to talk about today, and so those are the 3 parts of this 3-part podcast. And I hope that everyone has a wonderful day, or if you're listening to this in chunks, congratulations, you accomplished round 3. And so much so, I'm going to let you in a little secret. The first 3 digits of my social security number are... That's going to wrap it up for today's show. If you enjoyed this episode and would like to help us continue to produce new episodes each week, visit jjmeetsworld.com, where you can donate to our Patreon, pick up some swag at the merch shop, or follow our link to Apple Podcasts and leave us a 5-star review. You can also follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, all the sites the cool kids are using these days. JJ Meets World is produced every week by Tucker Lucas. You can find out more about Tucker's work by visiting moonbasemaria.com. If you want to get in touch with your host with the most, check out linebenders.com, where you can find direct contact info for JJ or booking information. And that's exactly why, if you paid attention, I cleverly hidden my social security number in 6 different segments of this show. Enjoy!